rated of SK Gaming after that victory versus Alliance. You threw out a couple of curveballs. I'm not going to spoil too much. You can talk about your pick and ban plan.
Well, our pick and ban plan was settled, but it was not really set in stone because we had to kind of react to what they are going to do. So we just reacted to each pick and decided which pick could fit us the most in the composition. And the Orianna pick actually kind of threw us off. Our initial plan was rather going for Orianna than Nidalee in this case, but I think overall it worked out pretty well for us, and we just played our composition the way we are supposed to play it.
And you're the first player I've ever seen play Kayle support, at least with how it's been here in Season 4. Can you maybe tell me why is it good? What do you think about it?
Well, right now in 4.2 at least, the heal scales with AP in a better way, plus that the movement speed scales with AP. So that made it a bit more viable on support, but before it was also pretty good. And I think just he offers so much utility. He has Armor and MR Shred, and the heal output he has is insane. And you just don't get punished for going Kayle in case you actually profit from it.
And in general, we've actually seen you play quite a lot of different supports. We had Galio support, we've seen a lot of kind of different styles out of you. Is it because you want to surprise the enemy? Is it just because you love all these different kind of champions?
I just see there's so many heroes viable right now, and depending on the situation, the changes and the meta, there are the top tier supports, but once they are not the best pick in the situation, you might actually go for another pick. And I've trained Kayle over the course of weeks just because I saw how viable it actually is. And I think it has a great potential in some team comps.
Yeah, you were talking about how good it is that you can buy Mikaels. That is, of course, a little bit later in the game. What about the lane matchup specifically versus a Sivir and a Lulu?
Well, it's quite poke heavy, and that's in the favor of Kayle as well. They're not have essentially the best all-in, so you don't get bursted. And Kayle has a heal, and I just maxed the heal early on, and maxed my E as well. So my trading was good, and my heal was good. So overall, we just outscaled them and just waited and kept pushing them, and there was not much they can do once we hit a certain level because the heal output was so insane.
And I would actually like to know from you, because you're playing with Candy Panda, he's one of the most, what can I say, impressive AD carries here in Europe at the moment. Who do you actually think is the best AD carry if you have one guy who stands out from the rest?
Well, I guess the skill cap in Europe is very close on ADs, but I think right now for me, Candy Panda is the best AD in Europe.
Wow, nice. Well, let's talk about him a little more then. He mentioned last week, I believe it was, I like to pick the champion that I can carry on the most, and that is for me, Vayne. How does Lucian scale if we judge champions by that?
Well, Vayne is out of the chart. I mean, her scaling into late is insane. She has just this carry potential because so much reactional play with Tumble, where you can just dodge skill shots, etc. You have a stealth inbound, you have a knockback to get rid of someone coming at you, and the percentage health true damage is just, it's shredding through tanks, and that's all you need as a hyper carry. And if you offer enough protection for Vayne, that's the carry to go for. And I think Lucian is rather a safe pick with lots of, let's say, poke or wave clear, but it's just not the same playstyle. I think carry playstyle is more like Vayne playstyle.
Okay, so you mentioned that you had the Kayle, the Nidalee, a lot of heals going in there, which made the fights a lot of time incredibly close. And we actually got a good example of one of those. Yeah,
if we bring up the replay, we are at the situation, we're 32 minutes in, it's at around your red buff. We actually talked in the game with the casters here, they said how the combo from Alliance, you don't want to fight in the jungle, there's the Orianna ultimate, the Wukong ultimate, but yet you guys actually start the fight. So if we roll the clip, talk us through everything that's going on.
So first of all, Candy used the ultimate before to poke, so they were already low. Then we baited them into clutch position where Sven hit ultimate on 5 people. Candy dodged the Ori ult, which basically hit no one. And at that point, just the heal set in, and we just dragged the fight out because we have so much sustain more than they do. And Franny was able to flank from beside, which caught them off guard. And on top of that, when you see now, we chased them way further into the jungle than we actually wanted to, but we were able to sustain because of the heals that were keep coming in. And Freddy now jumped into the fight, and well, he just revived, and that's all we had to do.
And that's the beauty of Aatrox. And who's actually making calls like this? Who said, let's go in here? Is it Sven making it with the Evelyn because you can hit the ultimate, or is it someone else?
Well, in this case, it was Candy because he started poking and he wanted to go in. Overall, everyone has to talk, but in some cases, I have the last word in deciding whether we go in or out. But I think it has to be an equal thing in the team, and everyone has to be able to communicate, especially the ones that are initiating.
And when it comes to picks, like picks and ban phase, you used to work as an analyst for EG last season, also for Lemdogs at Worlds. How much of an input do you actually have in this, or is it the whole team who picks the champions, or is it mainly someone like you?
Well, in the end, everyone has to call his champion. The only thing we can do is figure out in scrims certain team comps and decide whether it's viable or not to play that. And I think it's overall a team decision. Everyone gives his input, I give my input.
And things are going very well indeed. And I'm going to ask for your input on the next game that's coming up already. Super Hot Crew versus Roccat. Roccat in a little bit of a slump, can we say that? How do you think it's going to go?
Well, Rocket, they have to win. They need to win to keep this first place, so I think they'll be very motivated. And Veggie talked yesterday about how they have to start winning the early game. If Rocket wins the early game, I see them take the game. Otherwise, Super Hot Crew will run with it.
What are you thinking, Rated?
Well, Rocket is maybe not looking the strongest right now, but never underestimate them. I think they're a hell of a team, and there's no one that is able to compete with them on a high level. If they play their A game, they will definitely win, and otherwise we will see an interesting game.
All right, well, thank you very much, and congratulations once again. And now we're going to head back over to D-Man and QuickShot to get our next game rolling.